High above you, tiny points of light burn with a quiet fury. But what really happens to a star long before its final breath? Does it know it's running out of fuel? Does it fight against the darkness? Or does it simply let go? Every star you see tonight is already writing the last chapters of its life, though those pages turn far slower than ours. Tonight, we'll drift through the secret life of a star, the hidden changes, the silent battles, the long journey toward an ending that is also a beginning. This isn't a story of sudden explosions. It's a slow, graceful unfolding, a cosmic heartbeat counted in millions and billions of years. Before we begin, settle into the quiet. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of the day fade away. If you enjoy gentle journeys like this, you can like this video, subscribe to The Thoughtful Night, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, beneath city lights, under country skies, or somewhere in between. Now, close your eyes if you like. Let's go back to where every star's life begins, in darkness, where clouds of dust and gas dream of becoming light. Far from city lights, beyond the reach of telescopes that see only sharp pinpoints, there are regions of space that look almost empty, yet they are anything but. In these dark cosmic pockets, great rivers of gas and dust stretch across light years, cold and quiet, waiting for something to stir them awake. These are giant molecular clouds, the cradles of stars, drifting slowly through the galaxy like immense shadows. If you could float there, no sound would greet you, no warmth would touch your skin. The gas is colder than the coldest winter night on Earth, so cold that atoms barely move, locked in a stillness older than history. Dust grains, tiny specks of carbon, silicates, and ice, wander through this frozen sea, dimming what little starlight filters in from far away. To human eyes, these clouds would seem like nothingness, yet inside them, gravity whispers a promise. Come closer, grow heavy, fall inward. Over time, small ripples form, eddies of matter swirling just slightly denser than their surroundings. Every atom, every particle of dust feels the gentle pull of every other. There is no rush. The clock here does not tick in hours or days, but in thousands and millions of years. While planets rise and civilizations fall elsewhere, these clouds keep their slow counsel, waiting for the weight of gravity to tip the balance. As gas gathers, clumps form. Not yet stars, not even glowing, just pockets of invisible anticipation. They are like heartbeats you cannot hear, like breaths held in absolute stillness. These knots of matter sink into themselves, growing denser, hiding from view inside veils of darkness. Astronomers call them stellar nurseries, but that phrase barely hints at their mystery. A nursery on Earth is bright, full of life and sound. Here, birth is a silent inward folding, a gathering of cold material preparing for heat it cannot yet imagine. Deep inside the thickest parts of the cloud, pressure begins to rise. At first, nothing seems to change. Still no spark, no visible glow. But something fundamental is happening. Hydrogen atoms, the simplest and most common matter in the universe, are being pressed closer and closer together. This is the beginning of a slow, invisible crescendo. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast fog bank at night. Nothing moves, but you can feel the weight of something about to happen. A gathering storm with no wind, no sound. That's what these molecular clouds are like. Immense reservoirs of potential, quietly arranging themselves for the birth of light. Here and there, radiation from nearby stars or a passing shock wave from an old supernova can jostle the cloud, pushing gas together. Gravity seizes the opportunity. Matter falls inward, faster now, converting stillness into motion, motion into heat. The cloud no longer rests. It begins to collapse into many small knots, each destined to become its own star system. In these early stages, the process is invisible to human eyes. Dust hides the forming stars as if they were wrapped in cosmic blankets. Only telescopes that see infrared light, the gentle glow of heat, can detect the faint signatures of change. To most of the universe, It still appears as darkness, but inside that darkness, seeds are germinating. This is the hidden first chapter of every star's life, including our sun long before its light bathed the earth, long before planets ever formed. Our sun was just another clump of cold gas, turning slowly inward, cradled by the gravity of a cloud that had wandered through space for eons. The physics is simple yet profound. Gravity pulls, matter gathers, pressure rises. No outside hand guides this. It is the universe following its own rules. In time, the collapsing clump grows dense enough that it no longer resembles the cloud around it. It becomes a separate entity, a compact, spinning sphere of gas. A star in the making, though not yet a star in truth. For now, there is no light, only compression. The future star is hidden, shy, holding its energy deep within. But every moment brings it closer to the threshold where darkness will yield to radiance. The great clouds themselves do not last forever. After millions of years, the first newborn stars inside them ignite, sending out winds of charged particles and streams of radiation that carve away the surrounding gas. The nursery is gradually torn apart by the very children it nurtures. What remains of the cloud scatters back into space, but the stars it spawned will shine for billions of years, long after the memory of their birthplace has vanished. From a distance, all of this is invisible, a process measured in whispers, not shouts. Yet it is here, in these dark veils, that the story of every sun begins. And so we begin here too, in the quietest places of the cosmos, where dust dreams and gravity listens. From darkness, a soft glow begins. A soft radiance begins to seep from the heart of the collapsing cloud, faint as a lantern buried in fog. The clump of gas that was once just a whisper of gravity's intent now has a shape, a center, and the first stirrings of heat. Though it cannot yet shine as a true star, it glows with the quiet warmth of matter falling inward, trading its motion for light. Astronomers call this new creation a protostar, a star that has not yet found its voice. Deep within, hydrogen atoms press closer together, but they are not yet fusing. The temperature at the core, though rising rapidly, has not reached the threshold to spark nuclear fire. For now, the warmth comes only from the slow crash of infalling material, a cosmic freefall turned to gentle heat. The protostar is like a sleeping child drawing breath for the first time, its heart still unformed but beating faintly under layers of dust. Surrounding gas and dust continue to feed it. Every particle spiraling inward adds to its mass, building its gravity, tightening its grip. The more it gathers, the hotter and denser its center becomes. This is a time of fierce growth, but it happens unseen. The cocoon of dust absorbs visible light and re-radiates it in the infrared, where only special instruments can spy on the process. To ordinary eyes, the young star remains hidden, like a secret waiting to be told. As the protostar contracts, it spins faster. Conservation of angular momentum, the same principle that makes a twirling skater spin quicker when they draw in their arms, causes the surrounding gas to flatten into a disk. This swirling disk of material will one day be the birthplace of planets, moons, and asteroids. But for now, it is simply a reservoir feeding the central object, sending streams of gas spiraling inward, while some material jets outward in narrow beams along the star's poles. These newborn outflows announce to the universe that something has begun. The jets punch holes through the surrounding cloud, carving luminous pathways visible in infrared images. They are the first visible breaths of the forming star, as if it were exhaling softly into space. Inside the contracting sphere, forces are locked in delicate balance. Gravity wants to crush the protostar ever smaller. Gas pressure, rising from the growing heat, resists this collapse. The struggle is not yet equal. Gravity still wins, forcing the protostar to shrink further and further. With each passing 1,000 years, its core temperature climbs, approaching 10 million degrees, the magic point where hydrogen nuclei will fuse into helium, where light will no longer be a byproduct of mere compression but of nuclear fire itself. This stage is brief compared to a star's later life. For a star like our Sun, the protostar phase lasts only a few million years, a blink in cosmic time. Massive stars pass through it even faster, sometimes in just tens of thousands of years. Yet without this phase, no star could ever shine steadily. It is here, in this hidden chapter, that the furnace of starlight is assembled piece by piece. Imagine drifting nearby, watching this silent transformation. You would see a pale sphere, its surface boiling with slow convection currents. No steady light yet, only a deep, ruddy glow, as if the object were alive but not awake. The surrounding disk would shimmer faintly in infrared hues, an unseen cradle forming worlds not yet imagined. Meanwhile, the protostar's jets send ripples through the dark cloud, sculpting pillars and cavities. In some regions, they compress nearby gas, triggering new clumps to collapse. So one birth sparks another, and whole clusters of stars arise together, like siblings in a cosmic family. Eventually, the core grows hot enough for a miracle to occur. Hydrogen atoms begin to fuse. Protons collide and merge, forming helium nuclei and releasing energy as light. This is the moment a star truly awakens. The first time its brightness is not borrowed from falling matter but earned from its own internal fire. Yet we are not there quite yet. At this stage, just before fusion begins, the protostar wavers on the edge of transformation. Its brightness is irregular, its winds are chaotic, and its future still uncertain. Will it grow massive enough to ignite fully, or will it remain too small, fading into obscurity as a failed star, a brown dwarf? For those clumps with enough mass, destiny is sealed. The pressure will not stop rising until hydrogen fuses freely. The faint, buried glow will sharpen into steady light, and the protostar will cast off its dusty cloak to reveal itself as a newborn star, what astronomers call a zero-age main sequence star. It will no longer be shy or hidden. It will shine openly, announcing its presence to the galaxy. Our Sun passed through this quiet chapter long ago. It drew its first breath in the dark heart of a molecular cloud, gathered its strength in silence, then opened its nuclear eyes to the cosmos. Though no one was there to see it, this invisible dawn made everything else possible. The planets, the oceans, and eventually you, listening now to the story of its kind. The protostar's struggle is a reminder of how every star must fight for its light. Nothing in the universe simply appears whole and complete. Even the giants of the sky begin small, uncertain, and hidden. Their fire is earned, not given. Soon, the gravity that compresses this object will be matched perfectly by the radiation flowing from its newborn fusion core. A balance will form, a long, steady truce between collapse and explosion, between darkness and light. In that truce, the star will spend the vast majority of its lifetime, burning calmly for billions of years. But first, one last threshold must be crossed. Soon, a spark will catch, and a star will truly awaken. The first breath of nuclear fire has caught, and the young star glows with a light all its own. At last, gravity's inward pull is perfectly balanced by the outward pressure of fusion, and the wild changes of infancy fade into stability. A new era begins, the main sequence, the long, steady youth of a star. This is the phase where a star spends most of its life, quietly converting hydrogen into helium at its core. The process is efficient, gentle, and enduring. For a star like our Sun, this calm balance will last nearly 10 billion years, so long that, from a human perspective, it seems eternal. In this long middle chapter, there is no hint of struggle. The star's surface radiates a steady light, not too bright, not too dim. Its winds are moderate, its core temperature constant, its rhythm unbroken. To anyone watching from a nearby world, the sunrise would look the same day after day for billions of years. Hydrogen fusion in the core works like a quiet heartbeat. For protons combine to form one helium nucleus, releasing energy that flows outward as light and heat. This energy, born in the furnace of the core, takes hundreds of thousands of years to journey to the surface, scattering and colliding with particles along the way. By the time it escapes as sunlight, Its path is so roundabout that the light you see from a star today began its journey when ancient forests still covered the Earth, or even earlier. Yet nothing about this stability is dull. A star in its youth is a master craftsman, forging the helium that will later become the foundation for heavier elements. Though the star's appearance hardly changes, its inner chemistry slowly evolves. The hydrogen in the core gradually diminishes, replaced by helium ash, while fusion keeps the star shining without pause. For stars much larger than the Sun, this stage burns hotter and faster. A massive blue star may live only a few million years before exhausting its hydrogen, while a tiny red dwarf could sip its fuel for trillions of years, outliving every other star in the universe. But no matter the size, this phase is the calm plateau of stellar existence. A candle burning evenly in the cosmic night. Imagine drifting in orbit around such a star. Its light would bathe your world in gentle warmth, constant and dependable. Seasons would pass, mountains would rise and fall, oceans would shift, and still the star would shine with unwavering grace. Civilizations could rise, vanish, and rise again, all under a sun whose face never seems to change. But deep inside, time is always moving. The hydrogen supply in the core, though vast, is not infinite. As more of it turns into helium, the balance begins to shift ever so slightly. The core contracts just a little, raising the temperature and fusion rate to compensate. The star responds by shining a bit more brightly, so subtly that it would take millions of years to notice. This is the first quiet sign that youth is passing. The Sun itself has been in this phase for about 4.6 billion years and will remain here for another 5 billion. During this time, it has grown around 30% brighter than it was when it first entered the main sequence. Earth has adapted, its climate evolving with the changing light, but the transformation has been so slow that no single moment marks the difference. All main sequence stars share this fate. Whether red dwarfs or blue giants, their steady light hides a silent countdown. Hydrogen fuel, though long-lasting, will one day run low. When that moment comes, the peaceful balance will break, and the star's core will contract again, searching for a new source of power. For now, though, the young star knows only serenity. Its fusion core hums with effortless precision, releasing the light that nurtures planets, stirs atmospheres, and sparks life. Many of the elements that make life possible are not yet formed. Those will come later, in the turmoil of later stages. But the steady sunlight of a main sequence star provides the conditions for life to flourish. If you gaze upward at night, nearly every star you see with your eyes is in this long youthful phase. Their light appears unchanging, fixed in its brilliance, though in reality each one is slowly, imperceptibly growing older. The twinkle you see is caused not by the stars themselves but by Earth's atmosphere. The stars are steady, faithful, enduring. This tranquil middle age will not last forever, but it lasts long enough to write the stories of worlds. Under such stars, planets can orbit in peace, oceans can form, continents can drift, and living things can emerge and evolve, never suspecting that their sun, though constant, is aging just like everything else. Eventually, as hydrogen fuel becomes scarce, the core of the star will begin to contract more noticeably, raising temperatures to levels that will set the stage for the next transformation. The star will grow brighter, larger, and more restless. What was once stable will begin to change, marking the slow end of youth and the first steps toward an older, grander stage of life. But that moment is still far away. For now, the star burns clean and calm, a beacon in the dark, writing the long chapter of its steady prime. Billions of years pass without drama, and the universe barely takes notice. Yet this quiet light will one day feed the soil of planets, shape the destinies of living things, and seed the cosmos with heavy elements forged in later trials. The clock of a star's life ticks slowly, but it never stops. Even candles burn low, and stars, too, must change. A star spends most of its life in a long and steady rhythm, quietly fusing hydrogen into helium. But even this quiet life cannot last forever. Deep inside its blazing core, something changes, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, like the faint tightening of a heartbeat. Hydrogen, the star's simplest fuel, begins to thin out. The core, once perfectly balanced, starts to contract under the relentless pull of gravity. As it shrinks, it heats up, pushing the star to fuse what little hydrogen remains more furiously. For millions of years, the star seems unchanged to any distant observer. Still shining, still steady. Yet inside, it feels the first pulse of age. Imagine standing near such a star, if you could survive the searing heat. You wouldn't see it dim or flicker. You'd see it swell. Its outer layers respond to the strain within, expanding outward like a great cosmic sigh. The surface cools slightly, turning from a bright yellow or white to a warmer orange or red. The star is growing old. Not weaker, but larger, rounder, more luminous, as though trying to hold on to its youth by shining even brighter. The heartbeat quickens again. Now helium ash, the product of all that hydrogen burning, collects in the center, dense and unyielding. Gravity squeezes it tight, but the star cannot yet ignite it. Instead, fusion continues in a shell surrounding the core, adding more helium to the pile, pressing the star closer to a crisis it does not yet know is coming. In this stage, the star begins to live in slow pulses. It breathes in and out across millions of years. Layers of gas rise, fall, and swell outward. The once stable heart now trembles with irregular rhythms, though the star itself still seems serene from afar. This is the subgiant and giant phase, the first visible signs of stellar aging. If you close your eyes, you might imagine it not as fire, but as music. The deep hum of a cello, growing slower and more resonant with time. The vibrations echo through its vast body, as though the star itself is remembering how it was born. A memory carried in light. This is not yet the end, only the prelude. Some stars will live through this swelling quietly. Others will throb and ripple with great waves of brightness, like a lantern flickering in a gentle wind. And as the star grows larger, it gives more light to its planets, changing the skies of any worlds that orbit nearby. On Earth, our own sun will one day do the same, swelling into a red giant, transforming the familiar daylight into a deeper, softer glow. The slow pulse of an aging heart is the universe's reminder that even stars must change. Their youth, however long, cannot last. But this change is not a failure. It is preparation. The core grows hotter and denser until, at last, a spark will catch and helium, once only ash, will blaze into new fire. But that is a moment still to come. For now, the star waits, breathing deep in its luminous old age, carrying the quiet dignity of time itself. And so, we leave the star glowing like a great lantern in the dark, its light softer now, but reaching farther than ever before. In the next chapter, we will enter its trembling core, where that long-awaited spark finally ignites. The long, steady youth of a star cannot last forever. Deep inside, where its core once blazed steadily, something is quietly running out. The hydrogen fuel, that simple element that powered its brilliance for eons, is nearly gone. Without hydrogen, the furnace at the center of the star begins to flicker. But stars are stubborn creatures. They do not simply fade. As the core contracts under its own weight, gravity tightens its grip. And when gravity squeezes, heat follows. The star's heart grows hotter than it ever was during its calm youth. Even as its outer layers begin to swell and loosen, what once was a compact, brilliant sphere now begins to puff outward, layer upon layer, like an immense, glowing lantern. To an outside observer, this change would be astonishing. The star grows huge, hundreds, even thousands of times its former size. Its light shifts from a steady white or yellow to a deep, burnished red. The star's surface cools as it expands, even though its core burns hotter than ever. The paradox is part of its beauty. A star can look softer, gentler, while inside it rages with new intensity. You might imagine this expansion as a breath, a slow, impossible inhale that lasts millions of years. The star does not shatter. It billows. Planets that once circled at safe distances may now be swallowed whole by the star's swelling outer layers. Others are scorched, their skies filled with the crimson light of a sun that suddenly feels much closer. But inside the heart of this giant, something extraordinary begins. The crushing weight and heat become so great that helium, the ash left behind from burning hydrogen, begins to fuse. New reactions light up, forging heavier elements. Carbon, oxygen, the seeds of life itself. The star is no longer just a maker of light. It is now a maker of worlds, creating the elements that will someday form planets, oceans, and even living beings. This stage of life is fragile yet magnificent. The star pulses and shifts, its outer layers rising and falling like the chest of a sleeping giant. Sometimes it sheds vast shells of gas into space, creating halos of glowing material around it, whispers of what's coming. If you were to watch it from afar, you'd see it grow unsteady, its brightness changing as if it were breathing in slow motion. And yet, even this swelling, luminous phase cannot last. The red giant's core is becoming unstable, each new fusion stage shorter than the last. A star that spent billions of years in peaceful balance may now live only a few million more. Its long, serene life is giving way to something wilder, something unpredictable. As you imagine this, picture yourself drifting close. Not so near that the heat touches you, but close enough to see its surface shimmering like velvet fire. Close enough to sense the weight of time pressing in. This is a star nearing the edge of its strength, but also at the height of its creative power. Its life is not ending yet. It is preparing for its most profound transformation. For now, the red giant shines on, filling space with its soft, ruby glow, scattering heavy elements into the void. And somewhere far away, future stars and planets are waiting to inherit this gift. The heartbeat quickens. The pulse grows erratic. Something must give. And when it does, the quiet breathing of the star will turn into a final, breathtaking act. Deep inside a maturing star, where light itself takes thousands of years to find its way out, the temperature and pressure grow unthinkably high. The hydrogen that once sustained its gentle glow begins to dwindle. But the star is not yet ready to surrender. In its furnace heart, a new fire kindles, stranger, more demanding, but far richer in its gifts. This is helium fusion, a hidden forge ignited only when the core grows hot enough to squeeze helium nuclei together. It is called the triple alpha process, a name as quiet as the process is violent. 3 helium atoms crushed into 1 carbon atom, and sometimes with a little extra heat fused further into oxygen. Here, inside this brilliant crucible, the building blocks of life are born. Hydrogen made a star shine. Helium makes a star create. With every heartbeat of fusion, the star forges atoms that will one day flow through the veins of living creatures, swirl in the air of planets not yet imagined, and glimmer in the ice of distant comets. A star is not merely a lamp in the sky. It is an alchemist, patiently weaving new matter out of the old. Imagine the core as a loom, each flash of fusion a thread being drawn tight. The star is knitting its own bones, the carbon of our cells, the oxygen we breathe, the seeds of chemistry that will write the story of life. And as it knits, its pulse quickens. The balance between gravity pulling inward and pressure pushing outward holds steady. But now the energy is deeper, fiercer, forged at greater cost. Outside the core, the star still seems calm. Its surface may swell slightly, its light may grow warmer, but to the universe it looks almost serene. Deep within, however, the quiet is an illusion. The old hydrogen fire has shifted outward into a shell around the helium core, while the center burns hotter than ever, stacking new elements one upon another like pages in a book. It is a story written in atoms, carbon, oxygen. Letters no eye can read, yet they will fill the universe with meaning. The life of a star is a constant negotiation with gravity. As the core transforms, gravity presses harder, demanding more heat, more fusion. For now, the star can pay the price. But this fuel, too, will one day run out. Helium is precious, and the fire it feeds is brief. The same process that gives birth to new elements also counts down the clock of the star's remaining life. Even the greatest forge cannot burn forever. This beautiful weaving, this knitting of bones, must end. The star grows older. Its heart pounds with the steady beat of helium fusion, while around it, the hydrogen shell continues its own quieter burning. Layer by layer, the star builds itself from the inside out, unaware that each new element is also a reminder of its mortality. For as long as helium lasts, the star endures, radiant, patient, still balanced against gravity's endless pull. But fuel always runs dry, and even this fire cannot last. The star has lived a long, steady life. It has burned its hydrogen, fused its helium, and crafted the carbon and oxygen that make up so much of our world. But unlike its massive cousins, it has never burned in anger. This life is not a race, it is a slow dance. And now that dance draws to an end. Inside, the fuel dwindles. The helium that kept its core alight is running out. And without new fuel, the pressure that once held gravity at bay begins to falter. The core contracts again, heating up, but not enough to light heavier elements. The star swells into a red giant one last time, its surface stretched and thinned, glowing not with fury, but with a kind of weary grace. As the core shrinks, the outer layers, those vast shells of gas and light, can no longer cling tightly. They loosen, ripple, and drift outward. In space, this shedding is not violent but astonishingly beautiful. The star exhales softly, layer by layer, sending tendrils of glowing gas into the surrounding darkness. Seen from afar, this is a planetary nebula, a name given long ago because early astronomers thought these faint disks of color looked like planets. But they are far more wondrous than worlds. They are the shimmering farewell of a star. Imagine it. A bubble of blue and green light, or crimson and gold, floating in the void like a cosmic lantern. These colors are not painted by hand, but by physics itself. Hydrogen glows red. Oxygen shines green and blue. As the gases expand, they cool, but still they shimmer as if remembering the warmth of their parent star. At the center, the core remains. No longer able to fuse, no longer able to push back against gravity, it collapses into something strange. A white dwarf. A white dwarf is no bigger than Earth, yet it contains nearly the mass of the sun. Matter is squeezed until the atoms themselves are crushed tight. Electrons jam together in a desperate attempt to resist further collapse. This new star is no longer burning. It shines not with fire, but with leftover heat, glowing like a coal after the flame has gone out. Picture it as a hot pearl left behind in darkness. For billions of years it will cool, dimming ever so slowly. One day it will fade into a black dwarf, cold and dark. But that is so far in the future that not even our universe is old enough for black dwarfs to yet exist. Every white dwarf still glows, whispering its ancient light into space. Our own sun will follow this path. Not soon, not for about 5 billion years, but it will. It will swell into a red giant, shed its outer layers into a glowing nebula, and leave behind a white dwarf. Small, dense, beautiful. Earth may not survive to see that day, but the atoms that make up our world will not be lost. They will drift into space, mingling with the star's breath, waiting to become part of something new. This is the quiet death of a small star. There is no explosion, no cosmic roar, only a soft release. And yet, this gentle end is not wasted. Those gases, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, are flung into space, ready to seed new stars, new planets, new life. The elements of our own bodies were once carried out on such stellar winds, wrapped in colors too faint for human eyes. We live because stars like these died with grace. The universe is not only made of fire and violence. It is also made of these soft goodbyes. But not all stars end so peacefully. Some are too massive, too full of energy, too restless to fade quietly. They burn their fuel in a rush, and when the last ember is gone, they do not leave behind a pearl. They do not whisper. They roar. Some stars live as if they know they are burning on borrowed time. These are the restless titans, stars 10, 20, even 100 times more massive than our sun. They shine bluer, hotter, and far brighter, their light pouring into space like an endless torrent. But brightness is a warning. Their lives are not long, but furious. Where a small star sips its hydrogen like a careful traveler, a massive star gulps it down in a cosmic feast. The core rages hotter than any small star could endure. Fusion races forward, transforming hydrogen to helium in just a few million years. A blink compared to the sun's leisurely billions. But the hunger does not stop there. When hydrogen in the core is exhausted, the star does not grow quiet. It simply turns to a new fuel. Helium ignites, fusing into carbon and oxygen. When that too dwindles, the fire presses onward. Carbon to neon, neon to magnesium, magnesium to silicon, silicon to iron. Each stage burns faster than the last, like a drummer beating out an urgent rhythm. What once took millions of years now takes mere thousands, then hundreds, then days. This is the race against gravity. The star's own weight pushes inward with unimaginable force, and only the heat of fusion holds it back. But fusion is a ladder with only so many rungs. With each new element created, less energy is released, and the balance grows more fragile. Inside, the core becomes a forge layered like an onion, hydrogen burning in the outer shell, helium deeper in, then carbon, neon, silicon, each in its own ring of fire. The star swells, shrinks, and trembles with instability. Its surface throbs with pulses of light, casting out fierce stellar winds that strip away its outer layers. Space around it fills with clouds of glowing gas, a sign of both vitality and impending doom. And yet, this frenzy is creative. These titans are the universe's alchemists, building the raw ingredients of life. Carbon, the backbone of every living thing. Oxygen, the breath in our lungs. Calcium, the bones of our skeleton. All forged in the superheated heart of a giant too big to last. In this furnace, the star is not just living. It is preparing its own legacy, creating elements it will one day give away in a final, violent act of generosity. But there is one element no star can burn. Iron. When the chain of fusion reaches iron in the core, the music falters. Iron cannot release energy through fusion. The star has run out of fuel that can hold gravity at bay. The drummer's beat grows erratic, then still. In this moment, a massive star reaches its tipping point. Its brilliant life, measured in millions instead of billions of years, narrows to a few brief, breathless hours. The core grows heavier, hotter, yet powerless. The outward pressure of fusion vanishes and gravity, relentless, patient gravity, prepares to claim its prize. The Titan's last days are wild, unpredictable, filled with violent flares and eruptions. It has burned so fiercely that it knows no gentle death. Every pulse of light is now a warning, every tremor a drum roll for the final collapse. A massive star is a paradox. So powerful it can create worlds' worth of matter, yet so fragile that a single misstep spells disaster. It has been forging its own bones, knitting the seeds of life inside its burning chest. But soon, that chest will cave inward, and the heartbeat will stop. The star does not fade quietly into the night. It does not cool and shrink into a pearl-white ember as a small star would. Its ending will be far more violent, a cataclysm written in light across the galaxy. Even now, deep in the core, the weight of iron is building. The furnace that once roared is now a silent anvil. The star stands at the edge of an abyss it cannot escape. And when gravity finally wins, it will not be a slow surrender. It will be sudden, complete, a fall that lasts only seconds. But that is the story of the next chapter. And when iron fills the core, no more energy can be made. There comes a moment when even titans stumble. A massive star, once roaring with light, reaches the end of its long race against gravity. The iron core at its center has grown heavy and cold, not in temperature, for it still burns with unimaginable heat, but in spirit. Iron does not give energy when fused, it only takes. For a star, this is the end of creation. No more fire to hold back the darkness. Deep inside, the balance that has lasted for millions of years falters. Gravity, patient and relentless, has been waiting for this chance. In the blink of an eye, no, in less than the blink, the inward pull becomes unstoppable. The core, once steady as a heartbeat, begins to cave in on itself. Imagine an entire sun, 10 or 20 times the mass of our own, crushed down in a single breath. At first the atoms protest, the pressure forcing electrons into protons, turning them into neutrons. But even the strength of matter itself is not enough. The core collapses with a speed that defies imagination, falling inward at a quarter of the speed of light. There is no time to cry out, no warning flare, no graceful fading. The outer layers of the star do not yet know what has happened below. They still burn, still shine, still believe in their own eternity. But at the center, everything is changing. The heart of the star, that forge where elements were born, is being crushed into something far denser than iron, far stranger than the atoms of ordinary matter. In a single second, the core shrinks from thousands of kilometers wide to barely a few dozen. The density becomes so extreme that a teaspoon of this material would outweigh mountains. The collapse heats the core to temperatures beyond measure, releasing a flood of neutrinos, ghostly particles that pass through entire worlds without slowing, carrying away the deep cry of the dying star. And then, a miracle of violence. When the inward plunge halts, stopped by the sudden stiffness of neutron matter, the collapsing core rebounds, sending a shock wave racing outward. It is as if the star's heart, having fallen silent, gives one last thunderous beat. The outer layers, unaware until now, meet this shock. The walls of the star are hurled outward. Gravity and pressure wrestle in an instant of cosmic tension. In that hush, less than a heartbeat, the universe itself seems to hold its breath. And then the silence shatters. It is difficult to imagine such an event, harder still to describe. The entire mass of a giant sun imploding, then erupting, in less time than a single deep breath. The forces at work are so far beyond our daily experience that words fail. But we try because it is through stories that we touch the infinite. Picture the surface of the star swelling, trembling, about to be ripped apart. Light that has taken hundreds of thousands of years to crawl from the star's center now surges outward in seconds. Shock, heat, radiation, all unleashed in a single perfect storm. This is not yet the explosion itself, not the blaze that will outshine galaxies. It is only the moment before, the instant when the universe gathers its fist. When gravity wins, but only so that light may make its last, defiant stand. In the core, new forces are born. Neutrons packed so tightly they begin to touch. Protons and electrons annihilating into pure energy. The very laws of physics straining under pressure. The star is no longer a star, but something waiting to become either a neutron star, a city of atomic matter crushed to a single point, or, if massive enough, a black hole, a place where not even light escapes. But first comes release. First comes light. For the observer in a distant galaxy, nothing has yet changed. The star still gleams as it did yesterday, shining as if immortal. But inside, in the space of a single breath, its entire life has ended. The light that will announce this death has not yet escaped. But when it does, it will burst across the universe with a brilliance that makes night into day, a beacon brighter than a billion suns. For now, though, there is only quiet, the kind of quiet you feel not with your ears, but with your bones, the kind of stillness just before lightning strikes. The star is falling inward. The walls are rushing down. The heart is gone. And in that darkness, the shockwave builds, the first whisper of a farewell so loud it will echo for millions of years. And then, the light of death bursts brighter than a billion suns. The core has reached its silent limit. Iron fills the heart of the giant, but iron gives no warmth, no fire. The star is out of tricks, out of time. In its final moments, gravity wins a swift and terrible victory. The core collapses inward, faster than thought, crushing atoms, crushing even the spaces between them. In this implosion, the inner world of the star becomes something entirely new, something too dense, too strange, for ordinary matter to bear. And then, almost as quickly, the collapse halts. A wall of unimaginable stiffness resists the squeeze. The rebounding shockwave races outward, slamming through the layers of the star like a drumbeat that cracks the skin of heaven. This is no gentle sigh. This is a roar, a detonation brighter than a billion suns. A supernova has begun. In an instant, the star's outer layers are hurled into space at speeds that defy imagination. The shockwave tears its body apart, ripping through shells of silicon, oxygen, carbon, scattering them into the galaxy. For a few short weeks, this single point of light outshines an entire galaxy, bathing the surrounding darkness in an incandescent farewell. But this is not just destruction. This is creation. Inside that furious blast, new elements are forged: gold, platinum, uranium, iodine. The heavy treasures that smaller stars could never make. In the extreme pressure and heat of the supernova, nuclei smash together, forming atoms that will drift in the cosmos for billions of years. These atoms will someday become the dust in comets, the crust of planets, the iron in blood, the calcium in bones. It is as if the star spends its last breath writing a will, leaving its wealth to the universe. Look closer in your mind's eye and see the colors. Imagine curtains of blue and green oxygen, ribbons of scarlet nitrogen, threads of golden iron. A nebula of glowing debris expands, its filaments stretching like cosmic lacework. What was once hidden deep inside a massive, secretive core is now exposed to the night, cast outward for distant worlds to inherit. Astronomers, peering through their telescopes, catch these echoes of stellar death long after the flash has faded. They name these remnants, the Crab Nebula, the Veil, Cassiopeia, each one a monument to a star that once burned furiously and died beautifully. Even in their silence, these ghostly clouds sing of power, of transformation, of the relentless cycle of birth and death in the heavens. And as the last shockwave fades into the infinite dark, the question lingers. What remains at the very heart of such an explosion? When the star has given away its light, its metals, its soul, what is left behind in the furnace's core? Something small, but impossibly heavy. Something dense beyond words, beyond comprehension. Perhaps a neutron star. A city's worth of mass pressed into a sphere no wider than a few miles. Or, if the star was massive enough, the collapse may not stop at all. The core may continue falling inward, deeper and deeper, until not even light can escape. A black hole is born. But that part of the story waits for the next breath. For now, imagine the spreading cloud, cooling as it travels, seeding galaxies with glitter. Worlds yet unborn will one day rise from this debris. Oceans will form, rain will fall, life will bloom, and distant beings will wonder at the stars, never realizing the atoms in their eyes once belonged to a dying sun. A supernova is both an ending and a promise. A single act that declares, from death, life begins again. As the glow fades, as the expanding cloud thins into darkness, the universe holds its breath to see what form the star's ghost will take. The great explosion fades. The light, brighter than a billion suns, ebbs away into darkness. But something remains. Something small, dense, and strange, as though the star left behind a secret. When a massive star dies, it does not simply vanish. Its core, the very heart that once blazed with fusion, collapses into a form of matter that should not exist. Atoms are crushed, Protons and electrons merge into neutrons, packed so tightly they create a single, unbroken sea. What is left is called a neutron star, a city of matter crushed to the size of a single heartbeat. Imagine a mass greater than our sun, squeezed into a sphere no wider than a city. A teaspoon of this strange material would weigh billions of tons. Space and time themselves curve sharply around it. And sometimes these stars spin. They spin so fast they flicker, sending beams of light across the cosmos. We call them pulsars, like cosmic lighthouses in the deep night, marking the spot where a star once lived and died. Every flash is a reminder, I am still here, I am still turning. But not all remnants stop there. If the star was even more massive, gravity wins an even greater victory. The collapse continues. No pressure in nature, not even the crushing strength of neutron matter, can halt it. The core caves in completely, falling past the point of no return. This is how black holes are born. Regions of gravity so strong that not even light can escape. They are not holes in space. They are extreme objects. A star's heart turned inside out. Time slows near them. Space itself seems to fall inward. And yet they are not monsters. They are silent witnesses, keeping the memory of the star's mass, while giving nothing back, not even a single photon. Neutron star or black hole, both are the ghosts of once living suns. They do not burn, do not shine on their own, but they influence everything around them. Gas swirls near them, pulled into spirals of heat and light. Planets, if they remain, orbit like mourners around a grave. And over millions of years, even these stellar ghosts cool or hide completely. Still, their legacy glows. The elements forged in the star's last breath. Carbon, oxygen, iron, gold. All of these were hurled into space in that final explosion. The neutron star or black hole may be dark, but the dust around them glitters with the memory of the star's fire. You can picture it like this: a quiet ember left after a roaring flame, and around it, sparks scattered into the wind, carried far and wide by cosmic currents. Astronomers search the sky for these remnants. They listen for the rhythmic pulse of neutron stars, like distant drums in the dark. They trace the orbits of stars dancing around invisible partners, revealing black holes by their unseen pull. The night sky is full of these hidden memorials, though we need powerful instruments to see them. And yet, even without telescopes, you have already touched their legacy. Every atom of iron in your blood, every trace of calcium in your bones, was created in the heart of some ancient star that lived and died long before the sun was born. Those elements may have been thrown into space by a supernova whose ghost still lingers, a pulsar spinning, a black hole hiding in darkness. These are the afterlives of stars, not cold and meaningless, but silent and enduring, marking the place where the universe transformed itself. Even in darkness, their legacy glows in the dust, and that dust, gathered over eons, will one day form new suns, new planets, and new life that wonders at the sky, just as you do now. As one star fades, countless others rise, and among them the very atoms that make you. The story of the stars does not end in silence. Continues through you. Every atom in your body carries a history older than Earth itself. The carbon that shapes your cells, the oxygen that fills your lungs, the iron flowing in your blood. None of these were born on this planet. They were forged in stellar hearts, in furnaces that blazed long before the sun first rose. When you breathe, you are inhaling the ancient breath of stars. When your heart beats, it pulses with iron once locked in a stellar core. When you speak, your voice carries the resonance of elements that drifted through interstellar night for billions of years before finding a home in you. Stars die, but their ashes are fertile. After a supernova scatters its elements, gravity gathers that dust again. Clouds rich with carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and iron collapse to form new stars, new worlds, and eventually new life. You are the universe remembering itself. Imagine a star as an artist sculpting in fire. Its tools are fusion, its canvas the void, its masterpiece not only light but matter. Matter that will one day become oceans, forests, mountains, and people. The atoms that compose your bones were once the embers of such a sculpture. Astronomers like to say, we are stardust. But this is no metaphor. It is chemistry written across your very skin. The calcium in your teeth came from stars that died peacefully, like our sun will one day. The gold in a wedding ring may have been born in the violent collision of neutron stars, an event so rare it lights the universe like a cosmic flare. The night sky is no longer just a backdrop. It is a family portrait. Every glowing point is a relative. Some are elder giants nearing their end, scattering the seeds of tomorrow. Others are newborns, igniting for the first time, beginning the endless cycle again. Close your eyes and feel it. Deep inside, you carry the weight of ancient light. The universe does not merely surround you, it is within you. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are its expression, a brief and beautiful arrangement of its particles, held together long enough to wonder where you came from. And here lies the profound truth. Death in the cosmos is never an ending. It is a beginning wearing a different face. When stars fall, they do not vanish, they give. They enrich. They prepare the way for worlds to awaken and for life to take its first breath. Even the atoms that once formed those vanished stars have traveled unimaginable distances, only to arrive here, now, forming your body as you listen to this story. You are, quite literally, a continuation of their light. Think of it this way. Every heartbeat is a stellar echo. Every breath, a whisper from the ancient fires. Every drop of blood, a river of cosmic memory flowing through time. And just as stars rise and fade, so will we. But what we are made of will not disappear. Long after our lives have passed, these same atoms will move on, join the wind, the soil, the ocean, perhaps even one day, another star. Life and death, creation and destruction, they are not separate forces, but two sides of the same cosmic rhythm. You are a note in the great symphony of existence. The music began long before you, and it will continue long after, but for this brief moment you carry the melody. Look up tonight if the sky is clear. See the stars not as distant strangers but as kin. Their light has traveled across time and space just to touch your eyes. And know this, you are looking at where you came from. This is the final gift of the stars, the gift of belonging. You are not adrift in an indifferent universe. You are its child, its creation, and its witness. You are the cosmos, made conscious, gazing back upon itself. As one star fades, countless others rise, and the cycle goes on. From their ashes come worlds. From their light comes life. And from their deaths comes you. As one star fades, countless others rise. And in that endless turning, the universe writes its story, page by page, atom by atom. And now, you are part of that story. The story of stars is not just written in distant light. It is written in you. The carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your breath, the iron in your blood. All were forged in the hearts of ancient suns that lived and died long before Earth was born. Their final breaths scattered these elements across the cosmos, and in time, they gathered again to form worlds, oceans, forests, and you. Every heartbeat echoes the furnace of a star. Every breath carries the memory of cosmic fire. The universe is not cold and distant, it runs through your veins. You are proof that stars do not vanish into silence. They live on, reshaped as life, thought, and wonder. When you look up at the night sky, you are not just gazing at faraway suns. You are looking into a mirror, seeing the long journey of your own atoms. Stars died so that you could open your eyes beneath them. And as one star fades, countless others rise, each weaving the next chapter of creation. The universe is still making and remaking itself, and you are part of its story.